Hello everyone, how are you guys doing? I hope you guys have had a great week. I'm just going to give it a few minutes until, I know you guys are all in. I'm just going to message MJ and tell I'm in. Hello everyone, how are you all doing? I don't see any one of y'all yet. So I'm just going to give it a few minutes before I start. Oh, okay. I see one of you. Probably it's MJ. So today's topic, it's quite important, and I also thought it'll be quite necessary because you guys may have that impression that the dark night of the soul is like one event, but you have to understand that that too in itself is a process. You're not going to just experience one dark night of the soul, one spiritual awakening, and then straight up union with your twin. It doesn't work that way. So it happens in stages. And that's what I want you all to like understand. So you may feel that this is it, but sometimes, even when you're progressing pretty well, you may feel yourself falling back and experiencing mini dark nights of the soul as well. Dark night of the soul as well. Hello, Paige. I'm good. How are you? Hi, Lorinda. Good to see you. I've been good. I hope you have all been good as well. And how has November been treating all of you all? Please feel free to write your comments. November energies are slightly nurturing. You would notice yourself feeling a bit more excited because end of the year is coming, and you may feel like things are kind of neutralizing. For some, it may be picking up. For some, it may be, for some, it may just be what it is. Yeah. So, oh, I see six of you all now. Great. Guys, show me you're here. Say that you're hi. Give me a reaction so that I know you guys are here. Megan, I'm here trying to watch, but my internet Wi Fi is really shitty at my new station, so I'm doing my best. Oh, that's okay, but lovely to see you all, as always. So, yes, the dark night of the soul. The dark night of the soul happens in stages as well. So, there's a lot of misconception surrounding the dark night of the soul in itself. And often it is misconstrued as to be one big event. No, it is a series of many events. Some actually start experiencing the dark night of the soul years before meeting their twin. Some while they are meeting their twin. Some, of course, it is at its peak during the separation phase. Oh dear. Oh, you had I think a lot of people had chaotic. Yeah, it has been an interesting week, with all the new energies coming in, with the shifts, astrological shifts as well. But year end tends to be like that. But don't worry, the energies will get better and you will start feeling it soon. And also with the whole timeline shift that has happened as well, I hope you all are feeling good and jumped into a better timeline. Probably you guys have. And feeling really excited from within. Rest, rest, rest. Resting is really important. So you guys got to rest when you guys need to rest, because that is what's going to like help you to transition into the new energies. All right, back to my topic. So as usual, if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask me while I'm speaking, and I'll be looking at the questions so I can answer them, and I'll often like try to integrate them into my discourse. So, what is the dark night of the soul? You see, sometimes you may be just experiencing a low point in your life, a low state, and you might misconstrue that to be the dark night of the soul. But you have to understand the dark night of the soul in itself is very spiritual. It is a kind of a spiritual cry to know why you're experiencing this emptiness, this search, this pain, this yearning. So it is an amalgamation of everything. But often it's a cry out to God, to the universe, why you are experiencing what you're experiencing. And you may feel extremely tired. One of the biggest symptoms of the dark night of the soul is that you'll feel like you it's very interesting because you will feel a series of feelings, and some of it will be hopelessness. You will feel like there's nothing more you could do. And that's what leads you to your internal search, your spiritual search. You trying to figure out what all of this is about and what it is that you're trying to do to come out of this state. Hi, Mindy. So lovely to see you. So lovely to see you guys. My usuals, my regulars. Always such a pleasure. So today we are talking about the dark night of the soul and how it's just not one big event, but sometimes it could be a series of multiple events, and it can be really, really unique to each and every one of you. Hi, Sarah. Always lovely to see you. Hi, Moni. So happy to see you. I hope you all have been well. So today we are talking about the dark night of the soul. I know it's an intense topic, and please feel free to share your experiences as well. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to interrupt me. Feel free to ask them in the questions, and I will answer them for you. So that's why often when one experiences the dark night of the soul, they tend to panic and not know what to do, because it's not something that's clinical. It's not something that you take Panadol and it will go away. It's going to, and some of the phases may last for a while. So you may feel like, why is this not changing? Like, why am I feeling the way I'm feeling for weeks now? Or sometimes you may feel better, or sometimes you may have come in terms with it as well. So you know how to manage it. Usually when you experience the dark night of the soul for the first time, that's when you will be really, all of you would be in total shock. But the more you experience it, the more you'll be able to manage it. And like I said, it's often a spiritual cry, a spiritual cry for help, a spiritual cry towards evolution, a spiritual cry towards soul growth, and figuring out what everything is about spiritually. Can be extremely sad, and you can't really describe what the dark night of the soul is, because it's so complex, and twin flames often experience it in different stages as well. Okay, I'm going to read out Mindy's comments. I'm pretty sure that when I had the dark night of the soul for the first time, I did not know what was going on, and I thought I was experiencing mental illness type things, panic attacks, and real anxiety. Yes, that's why it can be really confusing, because you would often feel like you are losing yourself, you're losing your identity. Actually, that's what happens. You are trying to lose your earthly identity to gain understanding of who you are on the soul level. And that's what the dark night of the soul is about, because your soul is in such a dark place trying to figure out who you are. And like Becca says, it gets better. More like you get used to it, and you also know how to handle it better. And you see, the whole point of the dark night of the soul is for you to grow and for you to evolve. So it's all part of the process. That's why if you feel like you are experiencing the dark night of the soul, it's very important first to recognize that you are going through the dark night of the soul, often you would know, because you will be guided towards yourself. The search will be within, and you will go towards finding out who you are. So it's a cry out to God, essentially, wanting to know what all of this is about. Yes, like Sarah says, it is hard watching your twin go through it and they don't realize it as well. Yeah, that is very true, and probably I will do a live on that in the coming weeks as well. What exactly happens when the divine masculine goes through the dark night of the soul? It can be very, very complex as well. And divine feminines and divine masculines experience it quite differently too. The good thing about the divine feminine community is that you have support. Often, naturally, as females, you would not hesitate to talk about it, especially to your fellow divine feminine friends. But the thing about divine masculines is that they don't talk about it. They just rescind into their shell, and if they're workaholics, they just keep on working. It's more like they try to survive that period, than merely, it's merely existing and surviving. That's how it is for the divine masculine. For the divine feminine, on the other hand, there's a lot of release that happens. You will find yourself like crying, having a series of release. You will be Some would be experiencing like a memory flush. You'll be having all your bad memories coming to the surface. For some, it'll be just empty. You would not even know what is happening, and this is all part of the dark night of the soul. And often you're just wondering, what is this all about and why is it happening to you? And when you start connecting internally with God and your guides and the universe, you will slowly start coming out of that phase. And when you come out of it, you will realize that you're becoming much more stronger than you were before, because now you know how to handle it. Sometimes you may just experience it for a bit, and then you might start feeling all right, and then you might rescind back into that state. So don't think that you can't look at the twin flame journey in a very technical way. It's not procedural. You do this, you check uh, you check a box and that's it. And you follow all the process, you follow all the stages, and this is the outcome. It doesn't work that way, because like I always say in all my videos, it's always in the energies. So you have to always pay attention to your energies, because your energies is what creates your reality. And then another thing is, it's very difficult to talk about it as well, because when you are experiencing the dark night of the soul, you probably don't even have the energy to talk about it, because that's how excruciatingly painful it will be. As I say, the dark night of the soul itself translates to your soul trying to figure out what everything is and what is happening to you. Before the major dark night of the soul, you may experience a series of mini dark night of the souls as well. And after experiencing a big major event, you might experience post dark night of the soul experience as well. So it never kind of ends, because your search is never going to end. It's an infinite journey. So the most important thing, I have done a video, I think almost 8 months back, about how to deal with the dark nights of the soul, and probably I'll link it with this video later on so you guys can watch that too. That might be helpful. But essentially, the dark night of the soul is there to guide you, to help you grow. So never, excuse me, my nose is itching. Never think of it as a bad experience. It's not. It's just essential for your soul growth. And when you see it that way, you will realize that everything starts falling in place. The biggest thing about the dark night of the soul is that how do you handle the pain? Because the pain is excruciating, and you can't really look for, like, it's not going to go away like the flu either. Sometimes it goes away, and sometimes you suddenly feel, hey, I feel better. That's what I meant, that it happens in stages sometimes. Because always remember, you will not be tested to the level where you're not able to handle it anymore. Right, Sarah, do we still go through it even when we have united? I'm guessing it's not a one time thing. Yes, there is still a possibility. Even when you're in union, you might experience the dark night of the soul, because, like I had explained, the whole spiritual search in itself is ongoing, is eternal, it's happening all the time. So whenever vibrationally, you're confused or you're not understanding what is going on, you're going to experience the dark night of the soul. So it's not a one time thing. And I think that is the biggest misconception out there, because twin flames tend to think that it's a one time thing. That's it. Once they go through with it, it's over and they're done, and everything is going to, like, fall in place after. No, it's a ongoing journey of you healing yourself, growing, and surviving, essentially. I know it's not one of those really, exciting and fun topics to talk about, but it is a necessary topic to talk about. And that's why I wanted, MJ and I thought that this would be quite a good topic for the week. So, share with me your experiences, and also always remember that you can survive this. Don't give up on the journey. And remember, you have this amazing community to support you as well. So if you're ever feeling like you are experiencing the dark night of the soul, don't hesitate to contact us. We're always here to guide you. And my previous videos, I've touched on the dark night of the soul a couple of times as well. The most crucial thing about the dark night of the soul is that it can happen to you anytime. You may feel like you're progressing and you're really high up in the journey, and suddenly you'll feel this relapse. You fall into this dark, dark hole, and you're wondering, hey, why am I feeling the way I'm feeling? I'm not supposed to feel this way. I'm supposed to keep growing, not falling behind. But the dark night of the soul is part of the growth. You're not falling behind in any way. When you don't experience the dark night of the soul is when you're probably stagnant or you're not moving forward in your journey. Well, I'm looking forward to uniting, becoming more aware, and at least then I have a companion to go through with and understand. Yeah, absolutely. And yes, it does. So prior to meeting your twin flame, prior to understanding what this whole journey is about, you would feel extremely lonely. Whenever you experience the dark night of the soul, the growth that is happening within you. And without pain, there is no growth. Without effort, there is no growth. So that's why the dark night of the soul hurts so much. And it's not easy to actually survive it either. Another big part of the dark night of the soul is that it makes you self aware, it makes you more matured, it makes you more resilient, it makes you understand what the world is with much wider lenses. So you'll no longer feel like you are limited, So it is a kind of like a series of mini enlightenments. I often say you would experience the dark night of the soul before you experience a spiritual awakening. So it's the same thing here. And spiritual awakening in itself is a process. It's not going to you can't look at it like the 3D world. There's a beginning and there's an end. No, it's a journey. So once you start looking at it that way, you will notice your perspective widening, and your tenacity to handle the dark night of the soul will also change. The dark night of the soul can be so excruciatingly painful because there's no head or tail to it. For some, they just experience it. It's like you're being thrown into this tunnel, not knowing where the bearings are, and you just keep falling. And the tunnel is not linear, the tunnel is more like the other. I think this analogy will be better. It's like you being thrown into a well and you don't know the depth of how far the well goes down. I'm going to share what Lorinda shared. I cried for a year before meeting John. I've had many, many dark nights since meeting John. Thanks for that, Lorinda. So that's exactly what happens. You experience it like you have a major dark night of the soul, and then you have a series of mini ones, and then you have a major one again. So it's ongoing. And even after you meet your twin flame, you do go through the dark night of the soul. But the thing is, after meeting your twin, you kind of understand what is going on and why you're feeling the way you're feeling. So in that way, it's more consoling in one aspect. But overall, look at it in a growth perspective. Everything that happens to you is part of your overall evolution and overall growth. Excuse me. All right, Paige. Before I met by DM, I had such nights. Just a second. Before I met my DM, I had such hard nights for a long time. A lot of loneliness and fear, difficulty sleeping, seeing things in my room. I look back at it and I feel I was crying out inside spiritually. Yes. So that is one way to look at it as well. When you experience the dark night of the soul, nothing matters anymore. You just want to understand what is going on. That's why your cry is inward. So you might just be crying, you might just be releasing, you might just be feeling all of this doesn't make sense. Why am I stuck in this? Why am I stuck in this? Your first question will be like, why am I feeling the way I'm feeling? And why am I stuck in this state? And for some, it can last for a very long time. And you've no bearings to come out of the state. That's why the more you connect with yourself, the more you connect with the universe, the more you connect with the divine, the more you connect with God. It's more of you crying out to God to help you through this. That's when you will start seeing the light, and that is what's going to help you come out of that state. It can be quite trippy as well, because you might start feeling like you're losing yourself in the process. But what you don't understand is that you're actually gaining yourself because you're remembering more and more of who you are on the soul level. And then the more you look at this, and another thing is, I just wanted to say the dark night of the soul just does not happen to twin flames. It happens to everyone who's going through a spiritual journey. And sometimes it could be triggered by major life events. It could also be triggered by, sometimes it may not be triggered by anything at all. So so that's why you can't often just associate the dark night of the soul as being part of the twin flame journey as well. So it can be quite general. So it applies to non twin flames too. Just look at it this way: the dark night of the soul equates to spiritual evolution and growth in a way that you're pushed to understand what everything is about. Sometimes it can be a state where you're not even seeking answers, you are just seeking relief. Sometimes you're not even seeking anything, you just want to exist. So it is sort of an existential crisis as well. And that's why the dark night of the soul can never be explained in words. And that's why every one of your experiences are really, really unique. And also remember that the dark night of the soul is a very personal journey. And all right, Sarah, take care. Have a good one. Lovely to see you too. And I hope, yeah, I still see 12 of y'all here. I hope this is interesting, but I know it's not something that this is a very dense topic and it can be really, really intense as well. So, number one, when you feel like you're experiencing the dark night of the soul, don't panic. Probably you will panic, so you can't really say you are not going to panic. Just connect within, connect to the divine. That is step one. And for some twin flames, it's often mission oriented as well. So often before a mission, you might feel the dark night of the soul because that is actually preparing you for the mission. All right, guys, keep coming. I'm going to go on for another 15, 20 minutes. So I will keep taking on questions. I'm just going to take a sip of water. Being on a twin flame journey is very, very complex. You will never receive direct answers. Sometimes you are just going back and forth, or you're being stagnated, you're being stuck. You don't understand anything that's going on at all. And it's usually during this state that you fall into the dark night of the soul. And the dark night of the soul rips you apart. It literally breaks you up and fixes you again. And that's why you can describe it as placing yourself in a washing machine or being in roller coaster rides back to back. It's just, but usually after the dark night of the soul, you will feel this huge calm and relief because you will feel like something within you has changed. Okay, I'm going to read out this question. How can we help ourselves to get out of the dark night of the soul if we feel stuck? Feeling stuck is part of being in the dark night of the soul. So it's part of the process. So recognizing that you are in the dark night of the soul and that the dark night of the soul actually translates to soul growth and soul evolution, you will start feeling the movement and you will start feeling that you're actually coming out of the dark night of the soul. So, for instance, for twin flames who keep chasing their divine masculine or fixated just at the union part of the journey, when you experience the dark night of the soul, you're going to be stuck there for a very long time. So that's why you have to see the dark night as, of the soul as a cleanse. You're going through this to actually cleanse out everything that does not serve you at all. That's why the dark night of the soul is very unique, and you cannot describe it in words. And when you are experiencing it, you probably won't even be able to talk about it, because that's how intense it can get. And it will be. And another thing is, guys, I'm just answering questions generally. So if you guys want something in depth, you can always DM me for a private reading. I do live sessions as well. So you can always, then I could, tap into your energies. And if you're going through the dark night of the soul, I might be able to provide solutions for you to actually get through it. Lorinda, it's like you're metaphorically drowning or trying to reach the surface, but it's just out of reach. Yes, that's why you will feel like you're just going down and down and down and down, and there are no bearings. You're just falling and falling and falling. But you have to understand, you are the bearing. So you got to learn how to float. And that is what the dark night of the soul is about. It is learning how to float, it's learning how to survive, and it's understanding who you are. You may try everything while you are in the dark night of the soul. You may try meditating, you might try exercising, you might try doing everything, and nothing would work, because it's this existential void that you're feeling. So you are probably looking for solutions to try to get rid of the void. But that's the thing, you have to first recognize it's not a void, that it's not a mere state that you can just snap out of it. You have to allow time and space for your soul to experience that growth and progression within you. That's why it's not as easy as you can describe it to be. And especially when you're on a twin flame journey and you're going through the dark night of the soul, it's another level of trying to figure out what is going on. And always remember, guys, you are being supported by your angels, by your higher dimensional teachers, by God. So always reach out. And the thing about the dark night of the soul is you will reach out, because you will realize you have no other choice. So it kind of pushes you to the state to figure things out. It's like you have no other choice but to figure it out. All right, guys. If you guys have any more questions, I'll go on for another 10, 15 minutes, and then I'll wrap up for the week, and I'll try to come up with another interesting topic for next week. So, do share like some general comments about the dark night of the soul. Sometimes you may not quite understand what it is. Sometimes also realize that not every time when you're feeling sad or when you're going through that feeling down, it is the dark night of the soul as well. Sometimes it could be something that is medical. So it's important, if you feel that way, to go and consult your doctor. You can't always just push it and blame it on the dark night of the soul. Hi, Lily. Hello, I'm late. Felt like I was going through the dark night of the soul today. Today is my TF's birthday, and I texted him and said happy birthday. He didn't know who it was because he deleted my number. It broke my heart. Oh, Lily, it's like the biggest test of the test. That's why you got to hang in there and pull yourself together and stay strong. And and like I was talking about, the dark night of the soul, the last 35 minutes, it's a kind of an existential crisis. You're trying to figure out who you are, and the pain is unbearable, especially when you're on a twin flame journey and everything just explodes in front of you. So hang in there, sending you heaps of love and healing and everything. You just have to, you know, hang in there. Things will get better, Lily. That's why, guys, summarizing, the dark night of the soul in itself is not going to happen as one big major event and that's it. It will happen in stages. Sometimes you may trigger it. Oh, Lily, it's okay. This is a safe space and everyone talks about everything that happens to them. So you don't have to think it's embarrassing at all. And it's okay. And sometimes it's the embarrassment that really hurts. But it's all right. Things will fall in place. You just have to trust. You have to trust in the universe. You have to trust in God. Everything will be okay. So, guys, if there's anything you guys want me to talk about, you can always write it under my feedback file, like the topics you want me to talk about. Maybe I'll put up a post where you guys can tell me what you want me to talk about, and I could also do that. So, essentially, the dark night of the soul is something that you will not know or understand until you experience it. And the main intention of this topic is to explain to you all that it's not one major event. It can be a series of multiple events. For some, it could be one major event. It's all depends on your spiritual growth and your vibrational. It's it's all in the vibration as well. So when you're transcending a certain vibrational frequency, you will realize that things are shifting within you. And often the dark night of the soul does trigger certain things. And thanks, MJ. Um, Due to the timeline shifts. So, this timeline shifts is all about tests as well. You would be experiencing a lot of tests. It's like this timeline shift pushes you to experience everything and survive. But like MG says, you got to get back spiritually stronger with God. That's the thing. Once things starts to cool down, you'll realize that everything starts to fall in place and everything makes sense. That's why connect within, guys. Connect to God and always have that internal conversation with God, because that's what's going to help you evolve. It's okay. Mine told me to F off last week and he said a lot of things. I know the routine. He'll be back to himself in a week or so. Oh, Lorinda, I'm so sorry to hear that. Moni, I'm in the dark night of the soul now and I feel the washing machine of doubt. It comes and goes. It's so hard to figure out anything at this stage. Yes, I'm so sorry, Han. It is how it is the way it is. It is how you feel. But look at it in a macro perspective, because when you come out of it, you would have realized that you've grown so much, you've evolved so much, you've progressed so much, and you will be surprised at the best version of the self, the best version of yourself that you're becoming. You're just becoming more and more. You're becoming this person who is just spiritually rising. And like MJ says, it's a test. Connect with God, stay strong in your faith, connect with the divine, align with God, and then you will realize that things are actually falling in place. That's why during the dark night of the soul, you will call out to God. It becomes a very natural, primal, it's this primal instinct within you. You reach out to God. Like everyone. One thing about the dark night of the soul is you're pushed to reach out to God. if you are not reaching out or connecting to the divine, because you are at that stage where you don't understand what's going on. So the only way is actually to cry out to God to figure out what is going on. So keep praying, keep having that internal dialogue with God, and you will start to notice how you are shifting and coming out of this stage. That's why the dark night of the soul can be as complex as it can be, and it can be as simple as it can be as well. So, the complication, the complexity of the dark night of the soul stems from the confusion of not understanding what to do. And that's why you're often pushed. And the reason why you reach out to God at that stage is you have lost every other hope. And the answer lies within existence, and there's no other way. That's why the dark night of the soul in itself is about growth. You are growing, you are evolving. Okay, Lily, I'll try to channel into. Okay, firstly, what I'm feeling is that RS received a lot of messages for his birthday, and it did create a little spark of happiness. At the same time, there was some discomfort, but then it's like he just decided to put it away at the moment, and I'm feeling that he will reach out to you, so you just have to hang in there. So don't panic. You did what you did, and it's okay. It's okay to wish someone you care about happy birthday, but don't worry. When he found out it was you, it's all good. In fact, he was really happy that you actually reached out. It's just that he's not showing it yet. All right, I hope that helps, Lily. Right, back to the dark night of the soul. If you guys are experiencing it, you will know that the only way out of it is actually connecting to the divine, and test keep realizing it is part of your soul evolution. And once you start recognizing it slowly, you'll be able to survive. And from then, you will slowly find the anchor to float. So, from the state of you just falling eternally, you will start finding the balance to stay afloat. Suddenly, you have like gravity kind of like holding you, or you're just floating away in space instead of, sorry, allowing gravity to just bring you down. And that's why, you know, the human body itself is a vehicle. We call it the Merkaba, the light body vehicle. Once you're balanced and when you're spinning in the right frequency, you become complete light. And that's what's amazing, because your frequencies determine your reality. And it's always the case. And that's why sometimes when you're dropping low, you keep dropping low, lower and lower and lower and lowest frequency. And that's why once you feel like you're dropping, it's very important to take a while to acknowledge, all right, I'm not feeling so good, and take a break, take a rest. Try to bring yourself up again, but sometimes it's inevitable. Sometimes the dark night of the soul is unpredictable as well. You cannot predict that you're going to experience the dark night of the soul, but being aware that you're experiencing the dark night of the soul is also crucial to your journey. Like Moni says, these tests from the universe are so scary. Yes, they are scary, and that's why you have to trust the universe, and you have to trust God in this journey. MJ is saying, guys, you can't take anything for granted. When all goes well, you have to give thanks, be grateful, pray to God, talk to your archangels, align with God always. Can't forget it's not a 3D connection. Yes, you can't just think of it as a 3D connection. A twin flame connection is way beyond. It is beyond a physical connection. It's spiritual. It's It's out of this world. And like MJ says, when things are going well, be grateful, give your thanks, show gratitude, because that is part of the process as well. Because there are some twin flames, when things are going well, they're completely not there at all. And yeah, so it is important not to take things for granted when you are going through. So it's very important to practice gratitude in your life. Hi, Linda. So good to see you. Aw, Linda is saying, I'm so late and long time no see. Aw, it's so good to see you. I hope things have been going well. In fact, we're just wrapping up. We're talking about the dark night of the soul and how it happens in phases. Sometimes you may have a series of mini dark night of the souls, and then it might become a major dark night of the soul. And sometimes, you will experience just one major event or a few major events. But one thing is, always remember, the dark night of the soul is part of your spiritual growth. Oh, Lorinda, no worries at all. Lorinda says my phone signal is really bad. I'm going to leave to finish watching later. It keeps pausing, the skipping all over the place. Oh, I'm so sorry about that. Thank you, Vaishra and Angel. Oh, thanks, Lorinda. You're wonderful. Thank you so much. Linda, I'm in communication now with my DM. It's on and off. He's still in his situation, but I have my fair. Oh, that's wonderful, Linda. Keep doing what you're doing. You are doing wonderful. You're giving all the space and time for your divine masculine to grow. So that is wonderful. Another thing is, the dark night of the soul in itself is a journey of trusting the universe. It's about trusting God, that there is a reason why you are in this world, why you're experiencing what you're experiencing. And that's why it's such a breakthrough. You go into the state of being in the dark night of the soul, and when you come out, you are a different person. You are much more calmer, you're much more in alignment, you're much more wiser, you understand what is going on with better lens, you feel so much hope, and you are given the strength to survive this journey. And that's why it's so important to practice gratitude daily. And you know let gratitude be part of your life. Just think about it. Every day is marvelous. Existence in itself is such a marvel. You being in this human body, experiencing everything, the good, bad, and ugly. Everything is an experience. And once you start seeing the world that way, you'll realize how beautiful it is. And that's why beauty, it's not about all good things. Beauty is about what the world is, the way it is. And that's what makes things beautiful. And that's why when you're experiencing the dark night of the soul, it is such an important part of your soul growth. And it is so important for you to hang in there and stay strong. All right, guys, I'm going to wrap up. If you have no more questions, I'll see you all next week. In the meanwhile, if you guys want a private reading or healing, don't hesitate to contact me. And also, if you have any questions about the journey, feel free. Now is your chance to ask me all the questions. And if you have suggestions for another topic you want me to talk about, you can always write it as a comment on my file. So I hope you all have a great first week of November, and I will see you all next week. You're most welcome, Lily. Take care. And I know a lot of you all watch this over, so it's always going to be there. You guys can always watch this video again. Oh, thanks for staying in and watching this video. You're most welcome, Mindy. Always happy to see all of you all. You guys are amazing. Yep, so watch this space for all these exciting lives. I'll be bringing. I'll try to do a promo soon on something, probably Soul Report. So if there's anything, feel free to DM me as well. And yeah, have a great weekend, guys. If you want a private reading, feel free to contact me. And yeah, have an amazing, amazing week. Take care. Love you all, and bye bye.